You know, beauty is actually very subjective, and you'd be surprised at some of our best-selling photos. I mean, of course, there were a lot of people that loved the beautiful penthouse girls, but really all different types. And I have kind of a funny story. So I was doing these phone recordings. So I was doing phone sex recordings for England. And I had to do like hundreds of these recordings in English accents. Well, because the regulations were so strict and you couldn't really say anything, like you couldn't say the word legs, you couldn't say any body part, you couldn't say hot, so you couldn't say, oh, I've got hot legs, because that would be like taboo. So it's like you could barely say anything, and you couldn't really get anybody to ad lib. So what I ended up doing was I got all these Hollywood writers, like real Hollywood writers, to write these phone sex scripts that had to be innuendo and sexy, but you couldn't really say all these words that you wanted to say. And so we got these fantastic scripts that were like, oh, I'm going to take some horse riding lessons. Oh, whoa, stallion, you big boy, I'm going to ride you now. And they were absolutely hilarious. And so anyway, they all had to be in English accents, which was also proving very difficult because, you know, I did a bunch of them and then I had girlfriends, but they couldn't all be me. I even tried using my mother, which was, because my mom was definitely not into this stuff. Once in a while I'd rope her in and she had to read this script, and then it was a bit where it said, and groans, moans, right? And my mom goes, and then, and I thought, okay. Yeah, this is just not gonna work, right? So I ended up hiring a bunch of Hollywood actresses that could do English accents. So I had all these, real mainstream actresses coming in and doing these sexy phone recordings in English accents. So I had this lady came. She had a great, very upper-class English accent. And she's about 75 years old. But, she sounds great on the recordings, right? So she's doing these recordings and I'm listening to her. Oh, yes, steady on, my big horse, and I'm going to mount you. And I'm just cracking up. And I just had this thought and I said, would you be interested in doing some modeling? Like nude modeling? And my staff are there like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And she says, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to do that. That'd be really fun, right? She's actually an actress that has a kind of a recurring role on Seinfeld. And so she agrees to do these naked pictures. And so I have a photographer, an English friend of mine, Mark, who's just a hoot, and he's shooting this girl for Penthouse. So I didn't tell him who I was sending over, but I said, tomorrow I'm going to send over this girl for a few test shots while you're shooting. And of course I send this 75-year-old woman over for some test shots. And he calls me up and he's like, you are joking, right? And I'm like, no, I am actually serious. I actually, do want to do some test shots of her. And he's like, are you out of your mind? I said, I don't know. I just have a feeling that, there are a certain group that might like her, right? So, it was kind of funny because she's half blind and half deaf, and she comes and she's put her makeup on, but she can't really see, so like the lipstick is kind of like all over her face. And so, he's trying to do a layout, and he's saying, okay, well, just move your arm over here and just, pose sexy. And she's like, huh? I can't hear you. I don't have my glasses on. I can't see you. I'm thinking, we're going to go to hell for this one. Anyway, so she does this layout, and so I have these photos, and I send them off to this magazine, and the editor says, like, you're kidding, right? And I said, no, just, try it, right? And he didn't really want to, but, eventually he said, okay, fine. And he ran this layout of this 75-year-old woman. Well, it got more press, more letters, more response, 10 times more than any other model that they'd ever had in any of the magazines. The people were going crazy over it. It says, look, I want to commission you 3 more shoots of this girl, right? And so we ended up just shooting this girl over and over. I mean, we just could not keep these photos in-house. Like, all the magazines wanted her. They would send us these, bags of mail that the readers would send about this girl that we called Dalston, who was 75 years old, that they just absolutely loved. And we actually had our own little video line. It was a very softcore video line, and we'd shoot girls that you couldn't normally get, the ones that didn't do porn movies, but would do like a little softcore movie. And so we'd done like Busty Girls and the Girls of Barely Legal. And so we did a little video of Dalston, It was not explicit. It was just, her stripping off and being all sexy. And, it was a fun video. She's 75 years old, and it was pretty wild. And so we've got this video of Dalston. And what was hilarious was, it was just our bestseller instantly. But guys would call up our 800 number, and it was like, they were almost embarrassed to order it, but they really wanted that one. And so they'd order all these other videos first, like, well, I'll have one of that, that busty Brandy. I'll have one of her, and I'll have one of that other girl. And then just throw that Dalston one in, just for my friend. I'm going to give it to him as a laugh, And so for every Dalston video, we'd sell all these other videos, and she outsold her videos like 10 to 1. She was clearly a bestseller. And you may say, like, well, who's really buying this? Who really was, enjoying a 75-year-old woman? And we're talking young guys, like maybe 22 to 26, 27 years old, and they just digged Dalston. So you never know. Eventually, she came to me and she said, look, I'm really sorry. I really love working for you, and I've really loved doing it, but my agent says I'm going to get kicked off Seinfeld if I don't stop doing nude photos. So she had to retire from the nude photo business. But she was our bestseller.